Hey, what's up guys? How's it going? Today's video is all about creating a beautiful portfolio that will get you work. And today I got something in the mail that I'm super excited about it. I love it. I can't stop looking at it. I rarely see my images in print. So what is it? Well, it's a giant portfolio book of my images, which is really cool. It's super huge, it's massive, but it's beautiful. Creating a portfolio is that step every photographer will do at some point. And it can feel like, kind of you're staring over the abyss sometimes. It can be real daunting. Which images do I choose? What order do I put them in? How can I cut this one and not that one? So, there's so many decisions, especially if you're doing it for the first time. But believe me, it doesn't really get any easier. Now, I'm not gonna lie, putting this book together was really difficult. It was a real fight. I mean, at least with a website, you can swap images out if you don't like them, you could rearrange them, you could take them down, but with a book, everything is so final, so it just adds that extra bit of stress. So I'm gonna share with you my process for building a portfolio and just some sage advice that I've picked up along the way. But regardless, whether it's a website or a beautifully printed portfolio book like this one, it's just something so magical about seeing a distilled version of your work, a tightly curated selection of who you are as an artist. In my opinion, creating a portfolio, like how you go about it for your website, is very similar to what you would do for a printed book. Now, my website is great for sending out those marketing emails to prospective clients, like, hey, check out my work, here's a link. And it's also great for SEO in case an ad agency or a company is searching the web, typing into Google, like Los Angeles food photographer or something like that. Then my portfolio site would come up. I mean, at least I think it does. Wait, hold on a second. Page 2. But a printed portfolio like this one is something that I would take, to a meeting in person with an art director or a company. And there's just something so special about being able to thumb through the pages versus, scrolling through your work on a computer screen. And it's a conversation starter. You can talk about it. You can bounce ideas off of it. And especially having a gorgeous one like this, I mean, it's a true confidence builder when you go to meet that company or that client in person. Now, I got this one here from Sol Digital. They printed it. I have to give them a huge shout out for sponsoring this video, and thank you so much for your support of this channel and for sending such a beautiful printed book. I mean, this thing is truly amazing. This is from their Professional XT line, which I think stands for extra thick paper because this paper has some weight to it. But it's definitely a showpiece with this beautiful glass or plexiglass cover, the beautiful prints inside, and it fits neatly in this display box. They also made the creation process of this book pretty easy as well. They have their own software for Windows and Mac to help you lay out the images. You can use your own page designs or try out one of their templates. Now, I'll give you a look into that in just a second, but another thing they also have is some great ICC profiles that you can download and install into Lightroom, which is awesome because you can be confident when you're preparing your images that what you see on the screen is what you're gonna get in the print, and those colors are gonna be correct. But I can't recommend Sol enough. I mean, these books are beautiful, and not just because they're a sponsor, because, just holding it and seeing the prints, I can tell the quality of their work. Plus, Sol Digital is giving my subscribers $150 off their first purchase of a Professional Photoline book. So go check that link down in the description. All right, so now comes the actual hard part of creating a portfolio. Which images do you choose? Which ones do you cut? How do you arrange it all so it flows and looks beautiful and not like some collection of random images? When you're sitting down to create your portfolio, you kind of have to ask yourself some questions first, because a good portfolio is not just a collection of your favorite images. Now, the first question that you should ask yourself, and this is a big one, is what kind of clients do you want? And if you know that, then what kind of images do they use? Next thing you should ask is how you want your portfolio to flow. Are you gonna have categories like sweet and savory and beverages? And if so, are they gonna be separated or are they gonna blend together? And also, can you identify any consistent themes that are running through your images? Like colors or high key or medium key or low key or human elements. And do I have enough of those type of images to make an overarching theme or at least some categories? Then of course, on an image by image basis, you can ask yourself, does this image fit with my other images or is it an oddball out? I mean, I used to shoot a lot of travel, but you won't see any of those images in my portfolio because they just don't seem to fit. I mean, I do have a few images that kind of relate somehow to food, but they're still travel images. images and I might be able to fit them in, but I've kind of tried and they just don't seem to work. Maybe you have some images that can bridge that gap between two different genres and blend seamlessly together. But if not, maybe creating two portfolios would be a better representation of your work. This could also be a question that you ask even if the images are within the same genre. For example, in my previous video, I created a really cool flying food image right here. And although it is food and I shoot food and my portfolio is food, this image doesn't really fit because I don't have any other portfolio-worthy flying food images. Here are some other images of mine that didn't make the cut. So, you know, just having that one flying food image or a splash image snuck in there, it would make it an oddball image and that would destroy the flow of my portfolio. All of this ultimately goes back to that very first question, you know, which are the clients you are looking for? Are you looking for food clients or high-end hotel restaurant clients, ad agencies, travel magazines, wedding clients? Because yes, you probably have hundreds of images within a genre or genres within genres, but when you cut your images down to a small portfolio of 20 images or so, you're giving that client a peek into your specialty. Basically, you're saying with your portfolio that I want to work for you and, you know, this is the proof that I have the ability to get the job done in the niche that you're looking for. Maybe an art director and an ad agency who does all these fun ads, you know, is looking at your portfolio and they're like, oh, this is the flying food photographer that I've been looking for. Or a cookbook editor can say, oh, this is the natural and rustic food photographer, perfect for this upcoming book I'm doing on country cooking recipes. You know, things like that. So keep it very specific to the type of jobs you hope to get. Now, the most difficult part for most people once they figure out, you know, who they want to work for and the type of images they need for that is answering the age-old question of how do I arrange these images and what order do they go in and how can I make it flow all beautifully together? Now, this is tough because it's very personal to you, but I'm gonna jump into Lightroom here and share with you some tips that I use for my own portfolio here. I like to organize my images by tone or key, where my low key or dark and moody shots slowly transition into my medium key shots that transition into my high key and then back again. I also try to keep the savory next to the savory and the sweets next to the sweets versus having a steak next to a cupcake per se. Another tip is to use colors to transition from one image to the next. For example, an image that has red can be placed next to another image with red, but maybe that image has some green. So for the next image, you know, look for one that has a little bit of green. Just like colors, it could be the subjects of your photos that help that transition out. Like on this page where the green, oranges, and reds of the tomatoes and steak image transition into the raw carrots, which transitions into the cooked carrots. Sometimes you have an image that just doesn't fit anywhere, and at that point you have to do what we say in the industry as kill your baby, meaning that you love the image, it's a fantastic, awesome photograph, it's beautiful, it's your baby, but you have to cut it. You have to be ruthless in your edit, and I actually had to do this when I created this portfolio. It's this image with the person holding the bunch of rainbow chard here. It's a nice image by itself, but I just don't like how it's so much darker in color and tone than all of these other images on the page. I could move it somewhere else in the book, maybe try to switch some images around, but all of the other pages are just so tightly edited together, I think it might just be easier to reshoot this image, but this time with a background that falls in line color and tone-wise with all of these other images here. So I went all the way down to the store and brought back some of this beautiful veg. I really love the colors of that original subject in that image, and I thought it played nicely with all the other subjects and the other images in the layout. I just didn't like the background. I thought it was way too dark, and I just didn't feel like it fit the color scheme of our layout. I'm gonna swap out a couple of different background options here and just see which one fits best. I have 4 or so options here. I've already pumped them in the Sol's design program, and I'll just place them next to these other images on the page so I can pick my favorite. After all that, I don't think these bluer backgrounds are working too well. They're a little too cool in tone, so I think I'm gonna go with this marble backdrop. It fits nicely with the image next to it, with that drink sitting on the marble, and it also carries some of these gray tones over from the other images here. And personally, I think that works much better. Well, I mean, at least I did until I received the book, and now I think I actually prefer the original image. In this new one, my arms are just too big compared to the vegetables. Which brings me to my next point. Before you create your portfolio, send your edit off to as many people that you trust as possible. Get all your photographer friends to give you some feedback. Maybe even possibly solicit a professional photo agency that has pro photo editors that can give you the help you need if you have the cash. It's worth getting as much advice and opinions as possible because oftentimes us creatives are working in a box and are so wrapped up in our own work, emotionally invested because of the time that we spent creating it. So get that outside opinion. Now, if you're going to print your portfolio, find yourself one of these. Either buy one or maybe borrow one from a friend. It's the i1 Display Pro from X-Rite. This little gadget here helps you color correct your monitor and make it color perfect for photography and video. You just hang it on the monitor, start the software, and let it do its thing. And it'll create a color profile for your monitor. It works for laptops too, but basically you'll know with this little device that your monitor's colors are correct for printing. Well, this is the last video in this studio right here, and to tell you the truth, I'm pretty sad about that, but I guess it's only fitting that it ends on the portfolio of images that I created while I was here, and this is a really beautiful book, but I'm gonna be on the road for the next couple of weeks. I have a couple of client shoots, but I think I'll be able to get a couple of videos in here or there. Go down and grab up that deal from Saul, $150 off this professional photo line of portfolio books. Go check out that link in the description. But as always, please give it a like, subscribe, drop a comment down below, and I'll see you in the next one, wherever that may be.